What's up, everybody? It is the day before game day. It is the day before game day where the Lions have essentially their first playoff game, even though it is a Week 18 matchup. And what a shame it is. You hear fans talking about how this is such a great game and how excited they are to have a regular season game like this. But my question is it fair that the loser of this game, whether it's the Lions or the Vikings, who would be 14-3, would have to be the 5 seed? Is that fair? Do you care? Or are you just like, let's win this game? Who cares? We got this. I would love to know kind of what your thoughts are on it. I love seeing the change in attitude of Detroit Lions fans as we've gone deeper and deeper into the Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell era. This fan base is starting to embody the mentality of our head coach, of our GM, and it is a winning mindset. It is a winner's mentality. It is no longer that same old Lions loser mentality. It's a, we got this, we got it figured out, don't worry about it mentality, and we're here for it, let's go. I love seeing that out of this fan base, but are you in that yet? Or are you still in the, I don't know if I like this so much? So in this video, we're going to talk about what the Detroit Lions really need this weekend in order to win Sunday Night Football against the Vikings. It is a tall task for the Vikings to come into Detroit on Sunday Night Football with the country watching and all of Detroit screaming their heads off in order to come in here and get a win. That's a tall task for the Vikings. And it's also a tall task for the Lions to have all the pressure on them because they're the ones playing at home. They're going to be in their black jerseys. It's going to look cool and all that. But here's the one thing that I think they need most. You. Like, I know this sounds silly. I know this could sound like me just being a fan. We all have heard. Some of us were at the game against the Rams. In the playoffs. Some of us were at the game against the Buccaneers in the playoffs. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was not there. We were doing live shows right after on this, but the sound was deafening. The fans brought it. And that was such a big reason why the Lions were able to overcome that hurdle. The question is, can the fans bring that same intensity that you brought in the playoffs last year to Ford Field on Sunday night against the Vikings? Will people be going crazy? And I want to talk about this, and I want to talk a little bit about the unprovenness of the Minnesota Vikings and the provenness of the Detroit Lions, but also kind of one weird red flag that I've seen. All right, the Detroit Lions just went undefeated on the road. They have lost 2 games, both at home. Early in the year to Tampa, and just a couple of weeks ago against the Buffalo Bills, a few weeks ago against the Buffalo Bills. The question is why? When you listen, I'm a fantasy football guy. I love fantasy football. And when you listen to national fantasy football guys, it is known if a game is played in Detroit, it is going to be a shootout. And they're not exactly wrong. 48-42. 34-31, 23-20, 52-6, right? 52-14, 42-29. These are our home games, okay? These are the last 5 home games or so. They're not wrong. But this is the year we're sitting here, we're at home. None of you can honestly say, even though we're undefeated on the road, 8-0, on the road, none of you can say you'd rather this game be at Minnesota than Detroit. You want it at Detroit because you as a fan want the opportunity to be able to cheer on these Lions. All right, so as we're kind of getting in about halfway through this video, I now want to talk to you about 2 more things. I want to talk about the Minnesota Vikings and how they're on a 9-game winning streak, but it's largely unproven. So I want to compare that to the Detroit Lions and ask, who is this Minnesota Vikings team? Because I think they are a good team, and I think they're a team that is significantly better than when we played them in Week 7. I do. I think they're better. And we're a team that's significantly more injured, but even in Week 7, we were just coming off the loss of Hutch. We were trying to figure out what can this defense be without him. A lot of the injuries were already there. Now we at least have had time to adjust for it. But I also want to talk to you about Alex Anzalone and actually let you hear from Dan Campbell in this video about his recovery and if he's actually going to play tomorrow night. So here, let's take a look at this. Here's the winning streak that I'm talking about. Here, but I want to look at two things. First, I want to look at who they've beaten in this winning streak, and then I want to look at who they've played and beaten on the road. I want to see what they've done on the road because they're coming into Detroit. On the road, or in this winning streak, they've beaten Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Chicago, Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle, Green Bay. Until they beat Green Bay, which, by the way, that game got very, very close at the end, they had an 8-game winning streak against no playoff teams. No playoff teams. That's what they did. They're playing a third-place schedule. That's what they're playing, right? So their games that they get to play are against the Jets, and they get to play against Jacksonville, we have to play Jacksonville too. They get Arizona. Like, it's just interesting because they don't have to play the same teams that we have to play. When you look at their schedule as a whole, their quality wins are Houston and Green Bay. Green Bay was twice. All right? Those are their quality wins over playoff opponents. The other two playoff opponents that they played in LA and Detroit, they lost to us, Detroit and LA. This is not as impressive as we're looking at. And then when we dump into it even more, 21-13 against the Colts, 12-7 against the Jags, a 10-point kind of shockingly close win over the Titans, an overtime win against the Bears, a 1-point win against the Cardinals at home. All right. They beat Atlanta when Atlanta was in the Kirk Cousins, I'm throwing interceptionsville time. All right, then they beat the pants off the Bears, had a tight win over Seattle, and a tight win over Green Bay. All right, meanwhile, we can go over to Detroit's schedule. All right, we're beating good teams, all right, even early in the year, and then we're knocking the doors off of bad teams. We beat Dallas by almost 40. We go to Minnesota and get a win. We beat Tennessee by 30. Oh, I mean, like almost 40 again. All right. We beat Green Bay by 10 in the rain. We shouldn't have beat Houston, but we did. We beat Jacksonville by 46, right? Colts by 18, Bears by 3, Green Bay by 7. All right. We lose to Buffalo. We beat the doors off of Chicago, and then we have an offensive shootout over the 49ers. Here's what I want to say on this. And I can't be more clear when I say this. The Vikings, this would be the first game of the season. Yes, they keep winning, which is really good. It's cool for them. I respect it. I think they have a good team, but they haven't won this caliber of a game yet. The Lions have. So you have experience on the side of the Detroit Lions. This is a more experienced in this type of game team in Detroit than it is in Minnesota. So with or without Alex Anzalone, I think we have the advantage, but those guys like Alex Anzalone are the ones who are experienced. And will he play? I'm going to leave it to Dan Campbell to have kind of a funny response on that. Here you go.
Answer today.
What are some of the benchmarks he has to hit to feel comfortable playing on Sunday?
He's earned enough to be able to practice today. So I thought he looked good enough to be able to practice today. And so, no setbacks, and he's going to go out there and move a little bit. And so that's good. He's passed the handstand test, the jumping jack, inverted jumping jack. It's just we got to go through today, and it's really about him getting comfortable, and so much of it is what we really like to do is get these guys worked in before you throw them into the fire. We try to do that with as many of our guys as we can, is get them comfortable with a week of practice, then then they're ready for the following week. So that's kind of the phase we're in. We want him, love to have him, but we want to be smart too.
All right. So here's what I'm hearing with that. It's kind of simple to me. First off, it's a funny first response. What I'm hearing with that is if the first round bye wasn't on the line, he's not playing this week. He's not playing. We're going to let him continue to rest. But because it's the difference between the 1 seed and the 5 seed, we might ask him for help, right? Like my guess would be if we had the first round bye clinched or our playoff position was already set or even close, like, all right, it's the difference between the 2 and the 3 or something like that, then we'd be like, all right, Alex, we're going to have you sit. We want you to rest another week or two. We want you to get ready. The coaching staff would probably hold him out, or the medical staff. But because it is such an important game, it's essentially a first-round playoff game. This is a first-round playoff game, everybody. Like, I hope we all understand that. Like, it is a first-round playoff game because the Detroit Lions, if they win this game, don't have a first-round playoff game. Like, this is a first-round playoff game. The good news is that we get a redo. If we lose, we get to play another game. But we got to go on the road. We'll be road warriors again, right? And the path is so much more difficult. Massive game. Massive game tomorrow night. He's got a good-sized brace on, so we'll see what that looks like for him. Excited. Kind of excited to see this game. I'm nervous for it. I'm really kind of nervously excited. I would say more nervous than I was for the Bucs last year in the playoffs, more nervous than I was for the 49ers in a weird way, but nothing compares to the jimmies, the shakes, the nervous energy that I had going into the game against the Rams where Matt Stafford was coming back. And, oh, man, that was fun, wasn't it? Just beating them. All right, so anyways, that's what you got. That's what the Lions need. They need you to show up as fans. Get loud. All right, see you on the next one. Hey, you don't even need to watch this if you're going to go to the game. I'd rather go to the game and cheer. Go Lions. See ya.